Estamos yendo rumbo a Kissimee, al Muscle Gym, ahora sí, a entrenar con Vince Taylor, el primer atleta que vamos a estar conociendo en esta aventura que viene con todos los ingredientes habidos y por haber. Vince Taylor fue uno de los mejores atletas de la década del 90. Para que se den una idea, detrás de Dexter Jackson y de Ronnie Coleman, si no me equivoco, es el tercer fisicoculturista con más cantidad de títulos profesionales obtenidos. Ganó 22 títulos profesionales compitiendo durante 25 años. O sea, se dan una idea ustedes de lo que es competir 25 años a lo largo de tu vida. Entre los títulos más memorables tenemos en el 1989, un tercer puesto en el Olympia, atrás ni más ni menos que de Lee Labrada en segundo puesto y de el gran y la leyenda Lee Haney en el primer lugar. En 1991 repetiría este tercer lugar en uno de los Olympia que más me ha gustado a mí particularmente. Es el último Olympia que gana Lee Haney en toda su colección de Olympias, dando lugar a la entrada del gran Dorian Yates, ¿sí? Que en 1992 se consagraría campeón. Por ende, el Olympia del 1991 es el Olympia en el cual Vince Taylor queda tercero, Lee Haney gana su último Olympia y Dorian Yates ya entra en clasificación, obviamente top 3, obteniendo un segundo lugar. Nos vemos en el gimnasio.
You see that, man. You got to figure out, where did that energy come from? What did you want to be a bodybuilder? Well, I wanted to be a bodybuilder because I saw Hercules on TV on Sunday mornings, and he got all the pretty girls, and he driving on the chariot and shit. He beating up all the bad people, and he's got everybody's going, oh, look at Hercules, you know. He didn't have all the muscle of Hercules, but, you know, he got the idea. Yeah. I'm thinking, I want to be like that guy. But the only problem is, this guy beats everybody. He beats all the black guys. He beats all the Indians. Anybody that comes up to Hercules smashing everybody. He white. I'm like, well, I gotta be Hercules, but I'm gonna be black. I'm gonna be a black Hercules. So now you're sitting there, and I'm looking at TV, and I'm thinking, I know if I was in Hercules movie, okay, then I would be a black Hercules. I can get all the pretty girls. See where that came from? Still got them pretty girls in mind, right? Right. So
yeah, the girls are
always
a great motivation for you.
Great motivation, right? So I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, all right, this is gonna be great. So again, I'm not thinking about being a world-class bodybuilder. Hell, first thing in my mind came up, I want to be, when I started training, when I went to see John, and as we were training, I started seeing what he was telling me to do, and then this is why I came to the story. He was bench pressing, and he put on that bench, man, it had to be about 400 plus pounds easy. So, and I don't never look at the weights by the weight itself, I look at the plates you put on, right? So he put on 3 plates and he was benching. And he got a huge chest, big dude, right? He was banging it out. I'm about, I don't know, 180, 175 pounds. He's on the bench press. He's bombing the shit, right? He puts on another plate. Now, mind you, I want to do bodybuilding. I want to be like you, but I don't know what it takes to be like you. And you're telling me what it takes to be like me? Come on, let's train. This dude is training, and he got these 4 plates on there, and he's got 8 reps. Bam, bam, bam. He puts them on me. And I'm standing back there like, okay. He pushed off 3, and he stopped. And I'm standing above him. Oh, shit. I tried to grab the weight. Maybe something's wrong. He's like, no, stop. I'm okay. So he go, boom, boom. And he pushed it off. He let it go. That shit was like, the bar was doing this. And I'm going like, I have to do that to be a bodybuilder. Fuck this. Got me a ticket to go to California to stay with him for 20 days to see what I can do, learn about bodybuilding, see what it's all about. Even Mecca, bodybuilding, Gold's Gym, and all that stuff. He's going to show me everything. And let me tell you, bro, when I saw that, and I heard him talk about principles of training, and the word was you got to be strong to be a bodybuilder. I'm not a strong guy. I'm like, fuck, I never do that kind of weight. I'm going back to Germany. I made my vacation short. I said, I ain't training like that.
I'm not.
If I got to do that, He then took me to the extension machine, day 2. He was working the legs. So he wanted me to squat. And I told him, I tried to squat. You know, I'm like this. My back was like this. It's like, this doesn't work for me. He said, man, you got to learn to squat, man. You got to get those big legs, you know. Because he was tall. His legs were narrow. But he was telling me his back was a problem. And his thing was he was just doing a lot of leg pressing. I'm like, okay. So I'm like, let me do some leg pressing, because when I did the leg press, I can put some weight on the press and rock it out, do what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
But that squat, forget about it.
So you discovered that the leg press was your exercise.
That was mine, and it turned into mine from day one for 40 years, 30 years.
And you had never changed it, because it was then an exercise that worked for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then you start looking at how are you going to build legs if you can't squat like the granddaddy exercise is squat. Everybody squats.
Tom Platz.
I can't. There you go. Even Tom Platz. You know, everybody squats. I'm thinking to myself, bro, I was like, you know what? Let me figure this shit out, you know. But do you have to squat? See, that was the thing. What I realized was this, very simple. You have to look at the physique that you're built with. Look at how your body is developed. You see these guys got these short, stocky, tree trunk looking legs. Those are squatters.
Yeah.
All right? You see guys,
that's biomechanical stuff.
There we go. Think about it. And then when I noticed the people who have, which seems to be like myself, smaller joints, not built for heavy weight training. See, that was my key and my indication of, I'm not built like you. So where you have to go super heavy on weights and stuff like that, my muscles respond slightly different when I go at a medium weight or a different approach to what you're doing. Our goal is you're doing 15 reps of that kind of weight. But then I started saying, well, all I'm doing is training and doing what you're doing, mimicking what you're doing, because you're telling me this is the way to get to the other side of the street. You know, you gotta go heavy, you gotta do this exercise, you gotta.
Yeah, not for you.
Right? I'm thinking, exactly. But you try it.
Yeah, of course.
It's like, this ain't working for me. It hurts.
Some injuries during that time? Yeah.
Only that back. They kept telling me, you know, leave it alone.
Lower back.
Lower back.
Yeah.
I would do stretching movements, leaning in the morning, for even all through my career. That's right. I lay across the bench and I go all the way down. I come back up a couple of times. And when I came up like 2 or 3 reps of that, I stop, sit still, bingo. My whole back be like, fuck. And that was always. There's a difference between the look, again, from a squatter and a non-squatter, okay? You both got size, but then when you see the development of the physiques, you've seen the lines in your body looks like it comes with a smaller glute, flaring muscles, smaller joint, flaring muscles. Not that stocky look.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So I'm like, okay. So I'm looking at John's physique, and he was a little light and heavy upstairs, thinner in the legs, but he was tall, thinner in the legs at the top of the knee, but they flared and went up. Sort of like Albert Beckles, sort of like these other guys, so other professionals. I'm looking at different physiques, right? So I'm going like, well then I need to start training by my physique, not by my wish. Right? So I'm looking at how do I enhance what I'm doing? Do I need big legs like that? No. Those big tree trunk legs don't look symmetrical on my physique. So a thinner, my development's smaller joint, flare out, narrow off. Work and train with that concept in mind. That meant to me back then, lighten that weight up. Okay, light. I can see why I could use lighter weight because I'm not going to ask that contraction level of my muscle. All the years later, what I learned was like nothing's different in the exercise. Nothing. I'll give you 2 different exercises, but the muscle works the same way. A rep on any set that you do is going to give you X, Y, and Z. Let's say 1 rep is worth, I don't know, if you can measure it, you know, let's say it's worth 10 amps, okay? If 1 rep is worth 10 amps, I know if I do 10 reps, right? So that's 1 rep of 10 amps, 10 times 10 is 100. That's 100 amps on this shit. So I'm looking at voltage, I'm looking at amperage, I'm trying to put into this contraction. Okay, that's what I'm looking at, rather than how much weight I can put on, you know, how heavy I can go to get that stimulation.
The range of movement?
Range of movement was controlled.
Yeah.
I started breaking the muscle down. I said, okay, it's just 1 muscle. But now, from an angle in training, I later found out, which came out to be pretty true to me. When you start contracting, look beyond the skin. What's the muscle doing when you're training? Okay, 1 rep. What's going on in that muscle in 1 rep? You got contraction, you got the eccentric. Okay, so technically, only thing that's going on in this muscle is this. So every time you do a rep, all you're doing is intensifying this. So why do I need, if I can get maximum contraction out of that muscle, and that small muscle we're talking about, because people tend to look at the entire body when you train.
Yeah, but we train each muscle.
Go to each muscle, the size of that muscle, the energy that muscle requires. I started thinking, if I can create the same type of intensity, level 10, okay, by doing it lighter, because it's about contraction, it's not about weight. So if I work on that contraction and intensity, and if I can get that same type of full activated muscle, full contraction activity going on the side, but it varies from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on some days, or it stays at 10, and you can up and down with that type of intensity, that was a better way for me to condition my muscle, right? So I'm not thinking about being strong. So I'm thinking, but what is this weight really giving me? 50 pounds is making this muscle, that same little muscle that's doing this like this. 50 pounds is making it do this, okay? 80 pounds is making it do this. 100 pounds is making it do this. I'm still getting this activity, but the way things is changing. So what's the advantage of doing it at 80 versus doing it at 20 when I'm still getting the same input? So if I conditioning that, if I take this motor, or this machine as I call it, I take this machine and I regulate the type of intensity I want to be at. I want to control that intensity while I'm working out. All right. I want to say that I was able to bring in 10 or 8 to 9, 10 arms every time I train, right? Versus, okay, I got 50 pounds over here, I got 8 reps, and I couldn't get the 8th rep. I'm going to go until infinity.
You don't count weight.
And you're going and you're going and you're going. Endless training. So when people talk about I train to failure, what the hell does training to failure mean? I mean, it's okay. Don't get me wrong. It's okay. If that's what you do, because there's no one way to do shit. That's what you understand. For me, training, when I go to the gym, like I just said to you, if this muscle is going to work just like this all the time, that's all muscles, right? It's going to do this activity all the time. The work is internal. If I can influence the internal portion of it, what do I need to do to influence that? Because if this is the goal mine, this needs to be better to make everything else in that ladder, A, B, C, D, and E, to make the muscle grow and make the body respond, if that's what we're looking to do. So I'm trying to do is how to mentally think about this process. How am I influencing this process by utilizing super heavy weight? How am I influencing this process by utilizing lighter weight? Look at the difference. And when I found out, it's like, guess what? It's the same shit. The lesson to learn is that the amount of intensity that you control is the only thing that you do when you're training. Because if you don't take any of this mindset conversation and just go there and grab a weight and train, do like everybody else do, then you have one mindset. Lift more, get bigger, and that's it. That's simple as that. That's the equation. But when you step back after years and you go like, what does 10 reps give me versus 8? Right? You start seeing it makes sense. I'm working the muscle, just doing this, okay, all the time. Then we start training with angles, right? You find people doing short rep range, long rep ranges. My concept of that was, all right, I'm thinking about this one muscle. Usually, right now I'm focusing on my bicep. And I'm saying, okay, the bicep, the belly, which is going to be looking like this. If I'm contracting my, when I'm curling, first initial contraction I get is when this portion here, from that downward angle, is intensified when you curl up. Activation is beginning right now. Full muscles activated, but more intensity because of the resistance and this angle. And now I'm down here, and I'm pulling up. Bingo. This is the first portion of that muscle is getting full activation.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, every time I do a full rep, I'm sending that full charge all the way through the fibers, right? What happens? Let's just isolate this a little bit. Let's break it down. If I can control the amount of resistance going into this portion of the muscle through a certain range of the exercise, that means I get more amps, more benefit from having muscle activity in this zone for a longer period of time than rather having it come from this zone and spread out the rest of the exercise because of the range of motion, right? I've changed that quarter, start, stop, till continue flow. But if you can benefit, if you can stimulate the start, stop, and increase its output, is that not going to make the internal mechanism work even better? So I'm thinking, okay, let's call it zones. Let me take this muscle tissue, because when I'm flexing and all that activity is going on in my mind, it tells me I'm filling these fibers up with blood. I want to fill a certain section, all right? Rather than worry about going all the way full body, stay here. Focus on here. Half rep, get that maximum contraction, and let it go. Make that a principle.
Half.
There we go. Half or 3/4.
Yeah.
Then go to a half range, then a full range, and then stay in this zone. Stay upstairs, right? Stay halfway. Stay downstairs with the angle coming from the bottom. When I got my pins, tail, and hand grips,
Yeah.
those things were designed by that principle. Because I'm looking at my muscles and I'm thinking, all right, this is a full muscle belly, right? We're training the arms, a full muscle belly. I put that grips when I found out how to work with them. When I had it here in my finger here, and as I'm curling with the weight, and because of the angle of my arm, and because of the angle here, and the resistance that I'm using at the front, the curl, it's like, this is a simple motion. All you're doing is curling, right? So if I'm curling, and the fibers of the muscle, now let's get rid of the skin. Let's look at what's going on with the muscle. This is what we're training for. We're training for size, shaping this bad boy. But it's already got its shape. The only thing it's going to do is get bigger over time from training, from growth, but then it's going to max out. It ain't going to continue to get bigger and bigger and bigger. You know, how many guys you see annihilating bicep training? They've been training for 10, 12 years, right? And every bicep training is curl, with maximum repetitions, and even more so. And they do this year after year after year. They're increasing more weight. It's getting up, you know, oh man, I'm curling 70 pounds now. Whoa, okay, crazy. So you look at these guys, and so I thinking, I started asking myself, if all we're doing is creating a condition every time we train, it is a temporary condition for that we're setting for the muscle, any muscle belly. So for that moment in time, we're going to get that kickback, that result, right? But it's going to come and it's going to go away. So if I can train with the mindset of bringing it back while I'm training it, I know it's there, right? So I'll train to get that effect. Once I got that effect, I'm good. Stop training like that, the effect goes away. It's not based on weight. It's based on regularity of training. That's what this is all about, because there's too many trainers out here. There's too many gurus, right? And you watch people train and do what they do, they're all doing the same thing. When I watch people train people, right? I'm going like, I get it. They're assisting. I call it a training partner. You know, your verbal training partner. I see trainers train sometimes. Because I'm like, tell me, when I watch you train, what movement, what are you bringing to his execution that's creating a difference, right? You watch the trainer come, he's standing there watching you train, and as somebody make a movement, they trace the movement with their hand. You know, they're going to help you go up and down. This assistance. What is that for? You're not giving me anything. Now, train with this exercise. Train, do the curl like this. Do the curl like that. Why? All you're doing is changing angles. Because the rep is still the same. The activity in the muscle is still the same. None of that changes. The only thing changes, you went from this hand to this hand. Okay, you turn this over. Ain't nothing changing in here. But by you turning this over, you're somehow thinking that's going to initiate a change in the muscle growth, or whatever it is, or wildly you're training. I think what I'm telling you is this: when you sit back and you give yourself a lot of time to think about what actually are we doing and controlling when we do a rep, all right? Because this whole training thing is about reps, right? Numbers and reps. Are we doing X amount of reps that's going to create this volume that's going to keep that muscle on the positive side and looking good? Or are we training X amount of reps because it's about growth, right? Or we training X amount of reps because that's all it requires to get this muscle to take that position, right? And before you change your reps, get off, change something different, that muscle retires. So what I'm looking at is like your training principle. Now that begs the question: heavy weights. You train heavy, you train light. I'm asking you why. Why are you training heavy? Okay, what are you trying to do? You want to grow? Well, you know, that's just one part of ABCs to grow.
Yes.
That weight, you got to eat and everything else. So when I see people training, man, it's like, let's start re-educating. Look at the physique. Look at the muscle that you're training. Let's get a comparison between that muscle that I'm training and the weight that I'm using to train it, right? So if you're training those biceps, you got 18-inch arms. You got 18-inch arms for the last 3-4 years, and you're trained like a madman, right? And you got a book. You're checking off weights. I've seen them all the time. You got logs. You know, you're checking.
You like to have a diary?
Do that. I don't.
You don't.
It makes no sense to me.
Okay.
It makes no sense to me because it's condition setting. If you want to know what I did, then that's fine. I can go back and research. I did this, and that. But I did 12 reps this day and 15 reps that day. My question to you is, why?
Yeah, that won't be helpful for the next training. Each training for you is
different.
Yeah, okay.
The body's ready. It's like a bodybuilding contest. Every show is different. every competitor is different, you know, or your training is different, your meals are different, even though it's chicken, and rice, whatever, it's still different, depends on how I fix it. But it's still the same substance. It's still that particular protein. It's still that particular carbohydrate. So you're telling me because you bake that particular piece of chicken, I fry that piece of chicken, yours is better than mine because why? Because yours is baked and mine is fried. Well, because you have fats in yours when my body needs fats. Oh, no, you don't. You see what I mean? Too many gurus, too much information that means nothing that can be proven. So when I look at the body and go like, all right, if I'm training this way, and I notice and I began to understand a little deeper. I was speaking to my friend Ali Haney. He was saying the same thing, pretty much verbatim. You know, I'm not built like that, but I don't need to be built like that to build a physique, right? So what do I need to stimulate and to activate muscle, right? What do I need in my nutrition for my body to take on that growth, right? Now, do what everybody else is doing, and it's going to do that. It's going to do it either way we do it. My thing is, what do you accept? What do you accept from yourself to say how you got there? I got there doing light weights. And people look at you going like, can't get there doing light weights.
Yes, I can.
Got there doing light weights. What you mean I can't? Well, because it makes no sense. It goes against the grain. So at the end of the day, what I find out, it's all about what you believe in. It's all about what you make sense, right? Because people are coming preordained, predetermined. That has to be A, B, and C. And I keep saying over and over, can't be A, B, and C because there's no A, B, and C, D, E, or F available.
You can do your own ABC.
Yes, everything goes. So when I watch people train and you look at training and you look at the effects, don't be afraid to make adjustments, you know. Work outside the box. What works for him and what worked for me in a minute yesterday don't work last month. I'm always changing something because I'm condition setting. And that's the whole approach I use, condition setting.